Welcome back, vinyl community. Got another update for you. Some new finds. Very obscure thrift find here. Private press, early 70s, I guess, on this one. Group out of Edmonton, Canada, called The Opposite. Check out that stash. Album called Help Us Make It. Titled after their cover of the Chris Christopherson song, Help Me Make It Through the Night. This is a song that appears to be original, called A Dark Night. So lots of cover versions on this album. Can't find a whole lot of info out about this group. Apparently they were playing in places like the Saxony Motor Inn and various bars around town. I almost wonder if they were a family group. The one couple appears to be older than the other two. It might be the daughters. Lots of covers. Land of a Thousand Dances. Jackie Wilson's Higher and Higher. One of the best songs on here is Oh Mommy Blue, which was also done by a group called Stories, which did the song Brother Louie. That song on this version almost has kind of a psychedelic feel with the Hammond organ and a very echoey sound, like they're in a big cavern somewhere, and the girls' harmonies floating in and out. So, pretty nice album. Pretty decent. Private press out of Edmonton, Canada. The Opposite. Couple other recent thrift finds. My first thrift finds of 2019. I found this one locally. Paul Horn, July 9th and 10th. This is from 1971, I believe. Live set on the Pacific North Records label. Local press. This is him at Gassy Jack's in Gastown, which is the old historic core of Vancouver, Canada. Gassy Jack was kind of one of the early settlers. He was kind of a character who ran a bar down there. There's still a statue of him to this day. So Paul Horn, I think he lived in this area for a while, so I do find his records around quite a bit. Basically kind of his new agey, kind of mellow jazz. But there's one longer track on here called Lucite Wedgies, weird name, which gets kind of trippy and freaky with electric guitar, electric bass, and different things going on. And side 2 is a whole side-long arrangement of We Three Kings, the Christmas Carol. Getting into some record store finds, introducing the 11th House with Larry Coryell. Vanguard, 1974. It's his jazz fusion kind of supergroup there. Alphonse Mouzon on percussion. Just fusiony jazz guitar. Definitely some funk elements. Different store, same time. This was a blind buy. I grabbed it straight away because it is on Apple label. Jackie Lomax. He was a guy on the Liverpool rock and roll scene. He was friends with the Beatles and many other the British invasion artists when they were coming up. He never quite got the breaks, had a series of kind of bad luck, so when the Beatles formed Apple Records, decided to give him a break and put out an LP with him. All of them except for John are on this album in some capacity or other, so it does have that late 60s Beatles feel, as produced by George Harrison, and kind of a mix of British blue-eyed R&B with some kind of Cream-style power trio moves, and throughout a very Beatlesque sound of the times. So that was a pretty cool find. I found a nice copy of this one. Again, in the cheap bins, the Turtles, Turtle Soup. It's kind of hard to find turtles in good shape. This one is. It's on White Whale. This is produced by Ray Davies of the Kinks. The Turtles, kind of poppy 60s group. Two of the members, of course, Flo and Eddie later joined up with Frank Zappa, and kind of hooky songs with kind of a sardonic feel, I guess you would say. Found another copy of this one, Wishbone Ash Argus. Last year I'd picked up a copy on MCA. This is an original on Decca. Nice shape. Got this for just a few dollars. Nice to pick that one up. Classic progressive rock. Moving on to a different store, same day. Immediately hit their cheap bins that they have right by the front door. Found another copy of this one. This is another local album, Comox and Friends. I might have showed this in an early video, but this is actually an upgrade copy for me. I found this first in a thrift store. This was 99 cents, so I snatched it up for that. Private press on the Hookah label. Comox is a town on central Vancouver Island, not too terribly far from me as the crow flies. I've been there a few times. Nestled in the woods on the coast. It's kind of, I guess, best known or more notorious maybe for being the hometown of Pamela Anderson from Baywatch. But a lovely little town. Also home to Canadian Forces Base. Comox and Friends. This is kind of country folk with a little bit of trippy psychedelic influences, I guess. 1974 on this one. Beautiful condition copy. And nice sounding record too, for one of those floppy Dynaflex type records. From a different store, actually, the store where I found the Jackie Lomax and the Turtles. I happened by, this was not used, it was brand new. African one, Ethiopian modern instrumental hits. This was brand new. It was pretty cheap, so I snatched it up. You know you're onto a good roll when you go up to the till and the clerks are pretty stoked about the picks you're bringing up and get into a conversation and everything. This is a reissue of an album that originally came out in Ethiopia, early 70s, mainly featuring the talents of composer and arranger Mulatu Astatke, the father of Ethiopian jazz. So it's all instrumentals, early 70s, soul, jazz, funk, Latin, even a bit of classical textures in there and kind of a Far Eastern feel, kind of exotic sound. Very nice African record there. And getting into the second store I hit the same day. I've hit their discount bins that they have right by the door. They start to, once in a while they have some brand new records that I guess haven't sold, so they mark them down. Found this one. This is my first record on the Soundways record. Or Soundways label, sorry. Joe Mensa. It's from 1975. Soundway reissue. High life, funk, blazing high life African music. Hoping to dig more into that in 2019. They also had a few reggae finds in the bins. This is a 12-inch single from 1983. I picked up for just a couple of dollars by the great Delroy Wilson. Changing for You, backed with My Wedding Ring, both extended versions. Delroy Wilson, I have a spotlight video on him. I don't know if I've uploaded it yet as of this recording date, but I do have a spotlight on him. A very soulful singer, very mellow, quite not well known outside reggae, I guess, unfortunately. They had a couple of other new reissues secondhand in the new arrivals bins that I snatched up. This one came out not that long ago. Hadn't gotten around to picking it up. It is the best of Prince Allah. They've even they've reproduced the cover right down to imitation ringwear, just to give it that aged Jamaican look. This originally came out in 1981. This reissue came out 2016, a couple of years ago, on the Iroko label out of France. Prince Allah, sometimes also called Ras Allah. His real name is Keith Blake. He's a roots reggae singer, very devout Rastafarian. He doesn't really sing a whole lot of love songs, mainly very spiritual, very biblical oriented. One of his most well-known songs, which is included on this album, which I don't think this is actually really a greatest hits kind of. It's more his second LP. One of them is called Stone, which he wrote about the biblical story of Daniel seeing a great stone that smashed down Rome, and that song was given a thunderous dub mix by King Tubby. This was recorded with the Freedom Sounds posse, which was kind of almost a little neighborhood scene based around the Greenwich Town neighborhood of Kingston, Jamaica, produced by Bertram Brown. There was kind of an extended family of artists like Earl Zero and many others that congregated around Bertram Brown and his Freedom Sounds label. And Prince Ella was also one of them. Still active today, intermittently. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he works as a fisherman when he's not pursuing his music. But definitely still out there. He's recorded some albums for the Jah Warrior label out of the UK. And still occasionally puts some new music out. This was another one they had in the bins. Reissue from 2017 on the Burning Sounds label, which is a UK label from the late 70s that they kind of revived a couple of years ago and started putting out a whole bunch of reissues, not all of which necessarily appeared on that label originally, but I was buying some of them, and then they started putting out so many that I kind of fell behind. So when I saw these secondhand in the new arrivals bin, I grabbed them. This is the Black Stones Insight. The Black Stones is a group I've never actually heard before, I don't believe. I used to see some of those budget CDs by them around in the bins, and I kind of wrote them off as pop reggae or something like that. But they're actually a UK harmony trio from the 1970s in kind of the classic Jamaican tradition of many of the harmony groups that they had at the time, with rhythm tracks recorded at Channel 1 and Joe Gibbs Studios with kind of the usual Channel 1 players of the time. So definitely legit heavy roots rhythms with kind of the smoother, more UK style vocals. The Black Stones. Very nice album, originally released in 1979. Another Burning Sounds reissue, Al Campbell, Rainy Days. Al Campbell's not too well known. This is only his second album, which originally came out in 1978. Again on the Burning Sounds. Actually, I think the original came out on the Hawkeye label. And the Hawkeye Records founder, one of his friends, that was his girlfriend, they just went in one of the London neighborhoods and took that photo on a rainy day. Al Campbell started out at Studio One in various groups like, what were the names? Freedom Singers was definitely one of them. He has a very soulful, kind of laid-back style of singing that suited the UK lovers rock market, which was then booming. He's not to be confused with another singer also called Al Campbell, who also recorded at Studio One. But this is produced by U Brown, DJ U Brown, and despite the smooth kind of lovers rock feeling, it's mostly socially conscious lyrics on here, but couched in kind of a gentle ways, not really hitting you over the head with Jah Rastafari and Back to Africa and that kind of thing. Just gently socially aware messages in the music, and very smooth, very soulful, suits rainy day listening, although there are definitely a couple heavier tracks as well. And further listening on Prince Ella, by the way, the Blood and Fire label put out a great compilation on him, Only Love Can Conquer, from mid-90s, 1996. So that's what I've got for you today, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and cheers. Take care.